Arg, this be the week we be discussing the old dreaded sea dog psychological melodrama, The Lighthouse.
This is There Would Be Podcast.
My name is Pilar.
And my name is Ryan. And this week we're talking about The Lighthouse.
If you could not tell by my accent.
The Lighthouse is the tall tale of two wickies, one old and one young, who tend to a rickety old lighthouse somewhere off the New England coast in the late 1800s. As the weeks drag on, the two men get along less and less, but also sometimes more, until eventually they either miss their ferry off the island or it doesn't come at all due to a horrible nor'easter storm which blows in. What ensues thereafter is insanity, potentially literally, as they lose track of time, lose all trust in each other, and eventually lose even their lives.
Nicely put.
Yeah. All right. So we got two characters in this one.
Thankfully, it's not a jam-packed film with actors. So the two characters we have Young, also Ephraim Winslow, aka Thomas Howard, is played by Robert Pattinson, and Young is just a young, reserved man looking to get a fresh start in a new job, hopefully to ultimately achieve a quaint life in a house by himself.
Yeah, he keeps to himself, really.
Yes. And then we have Thomas Wake, aka Old. He is played by Willem Dafoe, and he is a worn sailor who is bound to his lighthouse for better or for worse.
Yes.
Yeah. He's obsessed with it.
So let's talk about kind of their characteristics.
Okay.
And then we can go from there, I think. So you mentioned Ephraim, or Winslow is what he's typically referred to in the movie. He is reserved. He is also subservient. Is that the right word?
Yeah, like he's almost just does what he's told, pretty much.
Yeah. So Wake, or Thomas Wake, or he's really just referred to as I, sir, in the whole movie. He is like the longtime lightkeeper, the wickie of this lighthouse. Yes. He writes in like the lightkeeper's journal, keeping tabs on what happens.
on his new helpers and like what they can achieve and how they can further in the wiki kind of system.
Yeah. So him, Wake, how do you want to refer to it?
I like Old and Young.
Okay, so the old man.
Yes.
He is very superstitious. Classic
he's like deep into like sea lore, pirate kind of mythology.
Yeah.
So he's like really deep into like things what is when people like see signs where they're like, oh, I saw a butterfly, that means somebody died, like that kind of stuff. Like he's really deep into that kind of stuff. We see that when he witnesses Young starting to kind of belittle the seagulls that are around him. He's like, you shouldn't be messing with those seagulls because those are old sailors who met their maker. So they know what they're doing. You leave them alone.
Yeah. It's also bad luck to leave a toast untoasted.
Right. I feel like that is something that like regular people feel now, though. Because you're not supposed to toast somebody with an empty glass. Or else that's bad luck too.
Okay. All right. Well, also, Winslow doesn't adhere to these superstitions very. Right. It's like I don't know. Their dynamic has a lot of different layers to it.
He's like a logical man, versus Old is more like whimsical as far as like his belief system.
Yeah.
Where Young is like just kind of coming into the world as like the straight man almost, like he's like hard-headed, but like he's well reserved and like, and what's the word, well mannered and hardworking. Like he only knows that he needs to do what he's told. and doesn't kind of feel outside of that.
Yeah.
But he knows his limits. Like, there's that certain, like, scene where he's like, all right, look, I cleaned up this house. I know I cleaned up this house. Like, you can't be berating me like I'm some dog.
Yeah.
And then Willem Dafoe is just, like, goes off on this giant tyrant. Like, I'm obsessed with the way that Old talks, especially when he's, like, in the heat of the moment, because he, like, just has, like, these curses, like, ready on hand.
Yeah,
He's just like, bah, 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 and I hope you, like, die in a hole. And blah, blah. But he, like, makes it so poetic. Like, he's, like, cursed people before. And he, like, really deeply believes in the words that he's saying. And it's just so crazy watching him speak. So according to Robert Egger, just the way that Willem Dafoe was so deeply immersed in his character, with the lobster monologue where he asked Young if he was like, you don't like me lobster? He apparently just, like, dove into that, like, monologue so evisceratingly, I guess is the word, like, that he passionately that he got it on the first shot. And he Robert Egger said that he did not witness Willem Dafoe blink a single time within those 2 minutes trying to curse Young again for this. I think it's for the second or third time at this point. Like, yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah, the lobster curse is the one that foretells how Winslow dies.
Right.
He, like, curses him to death because he didn't like his cooking. Well, let's get into the mythology of it.
Okay.
Because I feel like the backbone of the movie is really the mythology that is built on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Along with the mythology, we can talk about their dynamic as well.
Okay.
All right. So, just to go down the line, so we have the little sculpture that Winslow finds of the mermaid.
The mermaid. Yeah.
That's called a scrimshaw.
Scrimshaw.
Yeah. It's typically like a carving of, like, whalebone.
Okay. Cool.
So that's what that is.
All right.
Okay, so mermaids and sirens, I think everybody pretty much knows that they lure sailors to shipwreck on rocks and stuff, typically with, like, a song or something.
Mm-hmm. And their beauty.
Yeah, and their beauty. Okay, so Neptune is almost out of place because he's a Roman god. He's the Roman god equivalent of Poseidon, yeah. Right. However, Neptune is typically referred mainly. It's almost like, don't say Poseidon, I guess.
Interesting. It's almost like Poseidon's, like, his Christian name, and you can't know that.
Yeah, it's almost like that. Anyway, yeah. So of course, Neptune is Poseidon, basically. Okay, so we have Triton. He is the son of Poseidon. He's often depicted with a conch shell, and he's typically, like, the messenger,
right,
almost, or, like, the herald.
Okay.
Yeah, Triton will communicate to Poseidon the wrongs that you have done, basically.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so Proteus. Homer refers to Proteus as the old man of the sea.
Okay.
Typically, he can foretell the future, and he can also shapeshift.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, to me, that's pretty obvious that old, or Willem Dafoe, is the Proteus figure.
Right. You can see that in the way that he speaks to Young, where he's constantly changing his story or changing the narrative of what Winslow remembers.
Yeah, and then we also have a couple of, like, shape-shifty type scenes. The one where Winslow, I guess, like, sneaks up. Oh yeah, he forgot his cigarettes.
Oh yeah, he forgot his cigarettes.
He couldn't go to sleep without a little cigarette before bed. He forgot his cigarettes up at the I guess, like, oil input of the lighthouse lamp. And he gets up there, it's late, and all he sees is basically like old, like naked and like laying up there, and
like,
there's yeah.
Oh wait, he has like one eye open. He's like,
and there's some like you see like some like serpenty tentacle-y thing like slither through the grate, and it's really strange. And then we have Prometheus, who is typically referred to as the god of fire. He is the figure in Greek mythology who molded humans from clay.
Okay, yeah.
And then gave humans fire.
Right.
To build like
civilization. Yeah.
So the thing that really stands out about him is that Zeus sentenced him to like eternal torment. He was supposed to be bound to rocks, and then an eagle would come and eat his liver. Like every day, overnight, his liver would regrow, and then you'd have to relive it every day.
Dude, that's crazy though, to think that I don't know if it's like verbatim their liver, but like that they like knew that internally your liver regrows over, because right? Is that right? That your liver can regenerate? Like, that's why, no?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that...
Does your liver regenerate?
I'm pretty sure that it can. And that's why they, like, refer to the liver. Because it can regenerate.
Huh.
That's why... Because, right, that would make sense. Because why would his liver regenerate and then a eagle would come and eat it if they didn't know that that's how human bodies worked? I mean, I know he's a god or whatever, but it's like... Is he a god or is he a demigod?
Who?
Prometheus.
He is a titan.
Titan.
A titan.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sorry. That was a tangent. But.
All right. Also, in the West, like Western civilization, Prometheus represents like humans striving, overreaching, and unintended consequences.
Okay.
So, like, Prometheus is the Winslow character, or Young.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's the equivalent in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having seen Prometheus and liking that film, do you feel like it has any relations?
No. So, the film Prometheus uses the mythology of Prometheus completely differently than this movie.
Okay, that's interesting. That was something I was wondering because I didn't see it.
It uses Prometheus as like an alien civilization is responsible for or creating humanity, basically.
Okay, cool.
All right. So with that, we have basically this story, if you look at the mythology, is about Proteus and Prometheus being stranded on this island having to tend to a lighthouse.
Right.
What do you make of that?
I personally don't see a link between the two mythologies and how they can interact. Like, I see how they can interact as far as like humans go. Like, so with the shapeshiftery and like you can see it's having that power dynamic between the two, where Thomas Wake is he's not the captain, but he's like, the senior wickie.
Yeah. In his mind, he is the captain.
Right, because that's what he's used to. Yeah. But he is a senior wickie, and so we can see it in the first scene where they're eating dinner together. He's like, "Oh, take a drink with me," and Winslow's like, "Hey, I mean, I don't not want to, but it was under my contract that I am not allowed to drink on the job." He's like, "Well, I say you can." And it's like, well, you can't say that, because then you see later in the movie where he writes in his book that he's like drinking on the job, and it's literally all the things that he pretty much forced Winslow to do, and then he's writing him up because he did them. And it's like you are in an abusive position because of your power dynamic. Like, because you forced him to do it, and now he's doing it, and now you're punishing for doing the thing that you told him to do.
Right.
So, I don't see how that relates to Prometheus as a character.
Okay.
But I can see how they relate as far as, like, their human counterpart goes. Does that make sense?
Okay, I gotcha. So about that.
Yes.
All right, so that's one part of their relationship. You know, they're like a boss and a subordinate.
Right.
So Thomas Wake, the boss character, the captain of this lighthouse, he kind of has his ways, and he does pressure Winslow to drink with him at dinner, but he's like, that's when we can drink. Like, this is the time to drink.
Okay.
Like, it's not clear when he makes the journal entries about Winslow drinking on the job, but after they're stranded, like after they don't make it off on a deadline, then he does drink on the job.
Yes, because I feel like at that moment, Young feels like, well, I'm like extending my contract at this point. Like, I can do pretty much what I want. And it's like, there's not much to do, so he might as well continue with his work until he gets off this goddamn rock.
Yeah, I just think of it like it is overreaching.
Okay.
He's not being subordinate anymore.
Gotcha. So he's being Prometheus. He's doing too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's going to be punished for it.
Okay, I guess I can see that.
So that is one part of their relationship, is this like work hierarchy. There's also part of their relationship is like father-son almost.
Yes.
I imagine you would have something on that because you're always interested in that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, as far as like father-son goes, like he's always telling him what to do and expecting, like almost trying to constantly teach him like lessons.
Yes.
And, you know, like, yes, Young is a young man, but he's like old enough to know what to do. It's not like he needs to be micromanaged or like taught how to do simple things. And at the same time, there were simple things that could have been explained to Winslow before he started his work. One of them was when he was carrying that giant kerosene can thing.
Yeah.
Up all the way up the lighthouse, and then last minute, Wake decided to be like, "Oh, here's a watering can that you could have used." It's like, well, you could have said that the first day, like. Yeah. In the instructions of how to do this.
Instead of like the oil drums, you could have taken the oil can up there.
Right.
So I thought that was just like ridiculously stupid of him to do that.
I mean, yes, but it's like, you don't know what you're doing.
Who cares if there's no oil can? Like, get some smaller vessel that you can use to tote this oil up there. I mean, following that, Willem Dafoe is like, "Are you a dullard? Are you a dullard? Well, you certainly have me fooled," or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty dumb.
Yes, but I mean, we've established that Ephraim Winslow has the too much gene. And like, there's the one scene where he's carrying that giant sack of, I don't know what, with the band around his head. Do you remember that? So he's like carrying it on his back and it's like holding it up. So that is something that they did use within the time period. But I felt like that's like part of the like too much gene, like trying to like look like he's working real hard to have that band. Like, I don't know how necessary it is. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe on the third week or something, like where he's like feeling it, like maybe that's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to use some tools, like we see him like with a wheelbarrow. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the wheelbarrow just tips over because it's like
it's windy as heck.
Yeah, it's windy as hell. The rocks are slippery, you know, they're wet as hell. Also, let me just say this. Wheelbarrows with one wheel, horrible design. Horrible. Who did this? Like, just upgrade that thing to 2 wheels and you're golden, you know?
Well, I feel like it would be harder to maneuver though. And like,
if 1 wheel can roll over it, 2 wheels can roll over it.
All right. So they have the father and son relationship that is definitely bothersome to Winslow. Like he's like Lin-Manuel Miranda, don't call me son.
Yeah.
But okay.
But it is, I feel like it is Winslow himself like looking for that dynamic almost.
Okay, so he's like perceiving it in that sort of
sense. Yeah. He's the
Okay.
one looking at Thomas Wake for affirmation.
Okay.
To like, I mean, I guess in some ways it's like, oh, if he sees me doing a good job, then he'll let me near the light.
He really trying to get to that light.
Yeah.
And okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. So he's like almost seeking for that approval, kind of like egging on the father-son dynamic. But then when he like feels like it's overbearing, he's like, "I'm not your son. Like, stop treating me like I need like your approval, whatever."
Yeah.
Okay. So we have boss subordinate, we have father son, and then we have like the dynamic of almost of a married couple
Yes.
that's been there for a long time.
I got that on
And so we specifically see in the lobster scene where he's like, "You don't like my cooking," but then there's like parts when they're like hanging out and they're like dancing and they almost kiss and they fight and it's like
they like bicker like an old married couple, you know?
Yeah. And then I think when Winslow like has enough, I can't remember what the final blow was, but he's had enough and he's like he takes the lifeboat out and then Thomas Wake is like, "Don't leave me," with the like little hatchet. He's like, "I can't be here by myself. I need you. I wish I could quit you." Yeah, and so we see that in them, and I think that's really funny as far as like a relationship goes. But like I think it also like shows like for sailors, I feel like most of them are, they're all men on a boat. I mean, there's the old gay joke that the Navy are the gays of the army or whatever, the military.
Yeah. I'm not going to put that in.
Oh.
I read that some sailors even see it as bad luck to bring a woman on board the ship.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would make sense. But I feel like with being at sea with, somebody who is not your attracted orientation, you have to find your release somehow, and so you're either out there wanking it by yourself in the little shed in the back to a little plastic mermaid, or you're like looking for a relation in another human who happens to be your same sex. So like there's a lot of repression, and like I wouldn't say homosexuality in the sense of romantic relations, but more in like a I'm just out here to do what I need to do, and then like not gay for pay, but almost.
There's a term that I came across called androeroticism.
Okay.
And what that actually is like an androsexual is someone who is sexually attracted to masculinity.
Right.
And androeroticism, I think, is very much on portray in this movie, because all of the dynamics of their relationship center around different aspects of masculinity.
Right.
So, like, we're seeing it mainly through Winslow's eyes, I would say. And he's seeing Thomas Wake as like this father figure, as like a boss, as potentially like an old married partner. And what else do we say? Oh yeah, even like a god,
right,
at various times. And all of these are like formed in like a masculine lens.
Okay.
Like, this film, to me, is very much simply an exploration of masculinity.
Yes.
And, like it shows, like, the fragileness of masculinity almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Winslow, as a character, I feel like he's, like, always on edge. Like, he's, like, about to break, like, with everything.
Okay.
And I don't know. That's what I thought about.
All right. Well, I feel like it also, in the way that it's detailed with the lens, which we'll go a little bit deeper into that later, like how the camera just like grips every gritty like cranny of like their faces and their like garments and whatever they're doing, but you see it in black and white, and I feel like that is like kind of a very masculine way to see things. In the sense of like it's either right or wrong or like black and white, where like I feel like femininity comes with a lot of open-mindedness and more color.
And it's like physically like it's a gritty or like grainy image,
right?
too.
Yeah. So I definitely see that how like it can be very centered in masculinity in a different sense of just having two men, you know, be like, I love women. You know? There's the talk of possession of how possessive Thomas Wake is of the light, and how like that's almost his wife at some sorts.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't go near her, she's mine. Like you can man some other islands lighthouse, but not mine. She's mine. Like I feel like that's part of the repression where he kind of has to find himself pleasure in like a light, or like, you know, where Ephraim has the little totem thing that you were talking about. So Scrimshaw. And then also, you know, there's the giant phallus in the room or on the island that it's in its own character, you know.
That is one part of the mythology that I felt like I didn't really get. Mm-hmm. And I will say this. So there's like a ton of symbolism in mythology, mm-hmm. and I feel like you're not even supposed to get it. Like it's almost like not connected.
Okay.
Thoroughly.
Okay.
And I feel like that is by design.
Right. Yes. I definitely felt like that.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm not going to go like try to define every little symbol in the movie or anything. Right. But the light and their fixation on it, mm-hmm. And like how Winslow is drawn to it. Mm-hmm. Like I can almost see like Wake's character. You know, this is what he's devoted his life to for a number of years. So like, yeah, I can see why you'd be real possessive of it, I guess. But for Winslow, it's like he is just drawn to the light, and I don't get that. It kind of clashes with the mythology of both Proteus and Prometheus.
Okay.
And I mean, yes, Prometheus, like god of fire or whatever, mm-hmm. but that, I don't know, it's like doesn't really connect to me.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like it doesn't connect to the story of Prometheus either, because like Prometheus stole the fire, like that makes sense, but he stole the fire for mankind.
Yeah. And
that doesn't make sense because he's stealing it for himself.
Yeah.
So in the process of the film too, I read that neither Willem Dafoe or Robert Pattinson were told what was actually in the light. They were just told how it would make them feel. So neither of them really had like an image of what to project into the light. And I feel like that kind of shows in the movie because you really don't understand what the light is.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's something different for both of them.
We are not privy to the light,
right?
Know, which is kind of cool. I guess. Like we don't look into it. Mm-hmm.
We at some point we are the light at the very end.
Yeah,
and I think that's pretty cool. It's really cool to see how important the light, as far as like a story narrative goes, really plays into the movie. but it's just as important in the production of the film. So
like light specifically.
So I think you have the aspects a little bit.
So it's camera wise, they use a 1:19:1 aspect ratio, which I have no idea what that means. But it is a nearly perfect square shape, which kind of just frames the images really well, and it creates like a very almost claustrophobic like frame for each each scene of the film,
right?
And then it being in black and white, it has a orthochromatic aesthetic, and I think that refers to specifically like the filters that they use on the cameras. It is this grainy image that picks up. They talked about in the special features that it picks up like all the blemishes in your skin. It picks up like the red tones,
right?
And red will appear black in through those filters. So with this film being filmed through that lens, and they're in like pretty tight spaces,
or in the dark,
and to stay with continuity of the time frame. They're limited in the type of lighting that they can use. That being said, they use like just the brightest bulb that they could to light very small areas of the scene. Like when they're at dinner, it looks just like an oil lamp on the table, but it's actually like a super bright bulb in this oil lamp.
It's like so bright that like if it were me and Ryan talking, like I couldn't even see him because it was so blinding.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe like could not see each other as they were
talking to each other.
As they were filming that scene.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool to like have that sort of parallel in the film and in the production. Just having those two, or that one thing, be so important to both the film and the process.
Yeah.
Because I think even the night scenes they would have to film in the daytime because the weather was so rough, so they didn't want to accidentally lose somebody in the middle of production. But two, it's like the light is just so important to capture within that kind of lens that they really wanted to use. And then I did find out that there were several like nods to like phalluses and like breasts and stuff like that. And in order to film in the aspects that Robert Eggers wanted to do it, A24 and I believe another investor was like, all right, but we can't have any like nudity or like anything sexual, so you have to trade your nudes for your aspects. So I thought that was really funny that they like had to bargain that kind of stuff off, because I think it would have been way more explicit had they just done a regular film like formatting.
Okay. I did want to ask you, did you think these the aspect ratio and being in black and white, did it distract from the film at all, or did it create like a more immersive experience?
I feel like it was more immersive because I almost felt like a magnifying glass. Like I felt like everything was so intent in where it needed to look.
Yeah.
And then like it either was a magnifying glass or it was like a telescope, because there's like several scenes where you're like seeing from afar and you can't even really see anything except for like maybe a tiny light or a tiny figure, which I mean you're still focused on that one thing, but it's just at a very like far distance where you can't get details, and I feel like you're kind of left to your imagination to be like, okay, this is what I think this is.
Okay.
So I think it was more immersive because you kind of just, it was like you're direct eyesight.
All right, fair enough. I couldn't decide either way.
Okay.
When I went to the theater to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the screen goes dark, and then the movie comes up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, wait, should we move closer? Is this it? I don't know. It was so small on the big screen.
Maybe in big screen it might be a little bit more distracting because it's so small, but it's so like expanded.
Yeah.
It's almost like trying to play like, I don't know, like Nintendo 64 or whatever, or like on like a big widescreen where it just was not meant for that kind of specs. So it's just like large and you can't see anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you don't know where to focus.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that it would be more distracting in the theater than at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the specs, I felt like there were just some shots that I just kind of want to highlight.
Okay.
First of all, the first shot where we're going to the island and we see the little light in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
That's just absolutely amazing. I want that as like a poster or something. That is so cool. Okay, so there's the one where Winslow catches Wake at the lighthouse for the first time, and he sees his like naked body against the glass, and then you see Winslow, and then you see the shadow of Wake behind him, and I think that's such a really cool shot. Like, I don't think it was supposed to be an Easter egg, but it almost felt like that because it almost felt like we were seeing something we weren't supposed to see.
Yeah.
But behind him. Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I did notice that. That's a really good image.
I love the one where he is being dropped off and he's watching the boat go away, but we as the audience is the boat, so he's like staring like right at us, like
like the Wes Anderson
frame. Almost. I love that in that sense. And then
I always think that would be like a, like in Harry Potter, like the portraits or like photos like move. I always thought that would be a really cool like photo to move. Yeah.
And then counterpart, when they are waiting for the new boat to arrive, they're just like standing in the rain, and they're just so. It reminds me of that one song from Welcome to Night Vale, was like waiting for the bus and the bus in the rain, waiting for the bus in the rain.
I feel bad for them because they're like just standing out there on this cliffside, just being pummeled by the wind and the rain.
Dude, it looked like Robert Pattinson was like a kindergartner, like so excited to go to school, but it's like the worst day or something.
My favorite like cinematic moment in the movie is after Winslow kills the gull. On the cistern, the camera like slowly pans through like the length of like the building of the lighthouse, and then gets to the tower itself, and like slowly pans, or it doesn't move. I guess it moves. Moves vertically up the lighthouse and gets all the way to like the weather vane on the top before you see it like start spinning and the wind shifts at that moment. I love like that camera movement.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I feel like it kind of like builds suspense as far as like the storm that's coming, but it also like is referring back to how the lighthouse is built like a penis.
Yeah, because he definitely like that is like a masculine release.
Right.
When he kills that gull,
Yes.
Like that is like an orgasmic moment.
Yeah. So talking about the storm, one scene that I felt was like really cool and foreshadowing the storm was so I don't know what the well is called.
The cistern.
The cistern.
Yeah.
So he was putting that white powder in there.
Yeah. I think that's like lime or something.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, he goes to like spin her around, and then that itself looks like a satellite image of a storm.
Yes, yeah. I caught
and
that
so
as well.
I was like, dude, that's so cool. And then so that one foreshadows the storm, and then
in that place too, it foreshadows that's where he kills the gull.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of, one, it foreshadows a storm that might be coming, and then when he kills the ghoul, it's almost like that's the staple in the package. Like, it's a done deal. The storm is coming. Yeah. It's been approved. So, and the ghoul that is already in the, what's you said, cistern?
Yeah.
Could highlight, I don't know if that was the ghoul, because I know there was a ghoul without an eye.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to symbolize the assistant that Wake had before him. So I don't know if the ghoul inside of it was that ghoul.
I think the one that he killed was the one-eyed ghoul.
Okay. So, okay. I'm trying to see if it's like the ghoul, like being like, this is what happened to me. Or, because I think that ghoul who's inside floating in the cistern is also supposed to symbolize the body that Winslow had seen the first time in the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the addition of the ghouls, because I feel like it kind of, one, throws me back to when we were watching The Birds.
Yeah.
And it's just so much more elevated than the birds on that film. But two, so they didn't use live birds for the scenes in person. So they did have live birds who were trained to do certain scenes, but they had to digitally alter those birds because they were in a different country.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool to have them just kind of be like this sort of sinister thing that people are afraid of. Like not Winslow. Wake is just so afraid of the ghouls, but like he's trying to be really mask about it. Like, you're like, oh, it's not me who's scared. It's just tradition to be scared. Almost.
Well, yeah, it's almost not. It's just like, oh yeah, they're there. Just leave them alone. Like, that's what you do. So the ghouls themselves are one element of like the sound design that I thought really stood out. Mm-hmm. Because the ghouls are like omnipresent, like they're always there when you're outside of the lighthouse. We also hear this like just incessant foghorn whenever the weather is bad. It's very present at the beginning of the movie as they're getting to the island, and the foghorn is just like, yes, just this awful sound. There is, I think it's the first scene inside the lighthouse. Winslow is just walking around like the kitchen dining area, and like his footsteps are just like such a crisp sound.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know, just such an echoing footstep. I don't know, the sound design was like really well done,
right? And especially for a film that didn't have much music, really. I mean, it had like, it's like, I felt like the score just didn't even feel like music. It just felt like sounds you would hear, and they just harmonized at one point, you know?
Yeah, so there is actually a really funny moment. I think it's on the second day that we are there. Like, they get there the first day, we see their dinner scene, and then the next morning I think there's like the water leak or whatever in the roof.
Yeah.
That same day, we hear Thomas Wake fart, which, he farts throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But he farts, and it has like this audio transition into like this droning sound, and we're outside the lighthouse. Yeah. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. Like a fart transition.
Yeah. It's almost like fucking Uncut Gems where you transition to.
Don't bring up.
So the farts aren't farts that you've ever heard in any other film. They were created specifically for this film. And I guess some magazine or somebody tried to interview the sound master to be like, well, how did you make them? And he's like, I ain't telling nobody, and I'm taking this to the grave.
I don't know nothing.
I thought that was pretty funny and something I feel like I would do.
That's insane. That's hilarious.
But yes, farts. So, as crazy as this movie is, and kind of slow paced, this movie's hilarious. It has some great dialogue between the two, and like even the dialogue alone, like the accents alone, like he could say anything. Willem Dafoe could say anything, and dude, you're like, what the fuck are you saying to me? And I just feel like, aside from the farts, there's like the poop that he throws in the morning when he's like really drunk and the wind is just blowing the opposite way, and he's like, fuck. And it just reminds me of a Swiss Army Man. So like there's kind of like this art is fart kind of movement with these kind of indie films a little bit, or not movement, but like there seems to be a lot of that kind of presence. Like I feel like indie movies try not to be like too serious, and they're like, I'm not above a fart joke, but like there are movies that like fart jokes are kind of just a throw-in, versus like this is like, it's not a throw-in to me. Like I feel like it's necessary to be like, this is how ridiculous this life can be. Like stinky farts, like yes, that's funny. If you're with someone who farts constantly, you have to get like used to it. You can't just be like, stop farting. Like that's not like something you could tell somebody to do. It's like, but you're gonna be fed up and be like, I hate your stinky old farts.
Yeah.
I think that's just hilarious. The hilarity of life and body itself. Like okay. I think I love how that's captured in this film.
Okay. Alright. That's your whole diatribe on farts?
Yes. Right. I love farts. Aside from the farts, I think there's also comedy in the, like I said, in the dialogue. There was this one where he's, I think he's carrying something up. It might have been the gasoline or whatever. And Wake is like, son, catch your breath. But he like blows smoke in his face. And it's like, dude, like that's so messed up. How are you gonna tell him to like catch his breath, but then like infect his body with carbon monoxide or dioxide, whatever. There's also like the scene with the bird where he's standing in front of the door and Winslow's like, shoot, and he's like does this little bird thing where he's like tap, 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 tap. I think that's hilarious. Okay, the pinnacle scene where they're like, what?
Oh yeah.
What? Over and over again. And then when they're dancing, like they're just, so we found out that Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe took dancing classes for this film, and it's like the dancing classes is boom, 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 boom. I think I find that scene hilarious, and then that fact hilarious, because it's like you really didn't have to go the full bar for that. when he's trying to steal the key. Yeah. From Wake, and then he had his shoes in his back pocket, and he was like, that's a queer way to wear shoes. And then he like goes back to sleep. Dude, that's hilarious.
That's one of my like favorite like little subtle moments in the movie. So Winslow is trying to get the Lightkeeper's journal, right?
Right.
He gets that knife and
which he steals on the job.
Yeah, he stole the knife. Did he break it?
Yes, I think break? He did break it it broke trying to open the lighthouse.
Okay, that's what happens. So he takes the knife. Mm-hmm. He wants to get to the light. That's when he takes the shoes off, right?
Yes.
And he breaks the knife in the lock of the light itself. Mm-hmm. Then he's like, well, shit, I guess I'll try to get the journal. So he goes to get the journal. He picks the lock with the knife. But the journal's not in there. He goes up to the bedroom, and Wake has it. He's sleeping. He has it on his chest. Mm-hmm. And he creeps up to him, and he starts to like grab the book, and then he sees the keys. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, let me actually get these keys. Okay. And then he reaches, and then he's like, wait, he's asleep, and I have this knife. You can like just in the subtle camera movements, you can see where his mind is.
Right.
It goes from the journal to the keys to killing him in like, I don't know, 40 seconds.
Right. overall, I feel like the comedy just really benefited with how professional both Robert Patterson and Willem Dafoe are. Like, they are hilarious on by themselves. They're both really like hardworking actors in different aspects. Willem Dafoe, being a theater kind of nerd, he loves like being expressive, while like Robert Patterson, he just like loves being weird. So I felt like they really just were bouncing off each other, just the hilarity between each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the comedy in the movie only works because they're committed so well, you know. Like they're in it.
Yeah, he's like, "You goddamn thoughts."
Like if they're not in it, it's just ridiculous line after ridiculous line.
Right.
All right. Anything else? Any like fun facts or anything like that?
So I did learn that the town in which the lighthouse was being built in, they loved the lighthouse so much that I think they really liked how it just looked, and I think they also thought it would bring tourism, and they wanted to keep it. But I mean, overall, it was just made out of wood, and they're like, "Nah, we have to bring it down." And so the whole town of Little Nova Scotia was like sad. And I found out that the mermaid carving, what's it called?
The scrimshaw?
The scrimshaw was auctioned by A24 for $110,000 and $750.
$110,750.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is insane. Hold on. I wanted to see how much it compared to the flower dress from.
Yeah, how much was the flower dress?
The final bid was $65,000 for the dress.
All right, so the Little Mermaid carving.
Yes.
Was twice the price of the flower dress in Midsummer.
Yes. That's insane.
Does the flower dress have real flowers?
I don't think so. That's stupid.
That is stupid. It's stupid to pay $110,000 for that.
Yes.
Because like I said, they broke it in the movie, so they had to have more than one.
Right.
It's just a prop.
Right. I don't know, man. Damn, rich people.
If you guys want to auction off any of these props for $110,000.
Yeah, this bobby pin. $200.
That's a real used bobby pin right there. All right. Is that everything? You want to get into our ratings?
Yeah, that is really crazy. But yes.
Okay. All right.
So, overall, Ryan, what did you rate this movie?
All right. So, this was a very difficult movie to rate. Because there's nothing wrong with the film.
Right.
There's nothing stands out. There's nothing wrong with it. Also, I like the movie.
Yes.
It is very funny. Yeah, it's very funny.
It's not like laugh your pants off funny, but it almost is at the same time.
Oh, I could see it being like a cult classic because of how ridiculous the dialogue is at times, and Willem Dafoe's accent especially. That being said, it's very difficult to rate this movie. I like it better than what I rated it.
Okay, the first time?
No. I like it better
than the rate that you have for it.
Than the rating that I'm giving it.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
A 6.5?
It's a 6.5, yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so
why? So you need to explain this.
So for what it is, the story that it tells, I feel like it's a little, it's very dense with symbolism and mythology that doesn't entirely add up, and I feel like it's not entirely necessary.
Okay.
So if you're going to tell a story that explores masculinity, I feel like you can do it in a deeper way that doesn't focus on so much of this like facade of mythology.
Okay.
I just feel like you could do this movie better in a more simpler
manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. Like,
right.
it's a fine film.
So that knocks it down 4 points?
No, but I mean, I can't give it a 10. It's not a 10.
Okay.
It's just not.
Dang. I might have to rethink mine if I look at the board, but is that all you want to say to explain yourself?
That's it. Like, I love films like this that, like, get to, like, the core of a person's character, of their personality or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is what this movie wants to do, but it just focuses too much on all these external things that don't have to do with it.
Okay.
That's all.
Dang. I feel like it's quite the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know. I didn't find anything distracting or, like, taking away from it. I mean, I felt like the mythology was just kind of, like, fun pop-ins.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it's mixing two stories, like you said. Like the characters are, both of them are, like, the main characters of their own story. We're just seeing it mainly through Winslow. So they both have two narratives kind of contradicting towards each other, you know? Uh-huh. I feel like, and it's very explicit with the way Winslow kind of just, like, twists, or no, the way that Wake twists Winslow's, like, story around.
Okay. Can I say this really quick?
Yes.
All right, so, like, okay, in Black Swan, they use, like, camera tricks.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Nina's perspective,
mm-hmm.
and she thinks she sees things that she doesn't actually see.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like by the end of the movie and rewatching it, you know, it rewards watching it multiple times. You kind of you get to understand the story better. Mm-hmm. But with something like this, like, we see Willem Dafoe limping, running back into the lighthouse
mm-hmm.
with the axe,
mm-hmm.
and then he slams the axe on the table,
mm-hmm.
and then he tells Winslow that he just chased him with an axe.
Right.
But that's not what we saw at all.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened.
So you're left confused on whether what
it's
happened
like
or not.
Purposefully confusing.
Okay. But I like that. I feel like that's how I feel about American Psycho. Like, I don't really know like, I'm being gaslighted by Willem Dafoe.
Okay. Well.
Like, okay. Well.
We'll get into American Psycho in due time. But having watched it as many times as I have watched
mm-hmm.
it, I thoroughly understand what happens in American Psycho.
Okay.
This movie, I could watch it a bazillion times, and I don't know.
That's the fun. That's the mystery.
But there's no answer.
Okay.
Like, you can read it one way or the other. There is no answer.
Okay.
And I feel like with the art house movies that I like, there is an answer to get to.
Okay.
And this one is not it.
All right. Well, dang. I came at a 9.7.
Okay.
So I did find it very difficult to place the plot because, like you said, there's no answer. So I was like, I don't know where to, like, really be like, well, this is right, this is wrong. Like, as far as the plot goes, there's no plot holes because there's no end goal to get anywhere. So I can't be like, well, this can't happen because this can't happen. Yeah. So I put that as a 9 because I felt like the story was not clear, but it was not meant to be clear. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like a mess. Like, I didn't feel like things were just, like, placed in for no reason and then, you know, we never hear about it ever again.
Yeah.
Cinematography 10, dialogue 10. I could not understand a single word that Willem Dafoe said, but I mean, that's not my job.
Yeah.
I think the editing was fantastic. I couldn't find one scene I was like, that was unnecessary.
Okay.
Originality, like, I can't even fathom another movie like this.
Yeah.
Sound, we all talked about being fantastic. Setting, that was the one where I kind of struggled with, but I did feel like for what they created, the setting felt real. I mean, the weather conditions were real, the location was real. They did have to create two of the same sets. Yeah. Because the weather conditions were so bad. But I found that too. Also, one of the things I absolutely loved was the fashion, because the color wasn't like so prominent in this film. They had to like go with textures, and like even before we watched the special features, there was that one sweater that Willem Dafoe was wearing. It has like some little cross stitching up here, and I was like, dude, that's a sick ass sweater. Like, I don't even know what color it is, but I know that sweater is like the most bomb sweater I've ever seen in my life.
You just know it's like a brown or like a
right. Like, it just like looks so cool. And like even with the special features, like delving into it, I felt like it was really cool how they created everything by hand themselves versus like scouring to like find it. Yeah. So that's on setting. And then characters, I mean, they're great.
Yeah, they're great characters.
My only thing was like the pace. I did find the first time watching it was really slow and kind of boring. The second time I enjoyed it a little bit more, so I was more engaged. But I can see this, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I really want to watch The Lighthouse. Like, I'm...
Exactly.
So I had to put it at a 9.
Okay.
So both pace and enjoyment were like 1 point away. But I did find, like, I do feel like I would want to watch it, but it will be like a long time from now. It's not going to be like I'm going to put this movie on to go to sleep because it's going to go rah, rah, rah. You know, it's like annoying, but like sometimes I want to be annoyed.
Yeah. So, okay. So the first time I watched it, it was super slow.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it with you, I was more, like the first time watching it with you, I was more interested in your reaction to the movie than actually watching the movie itself.
Right.
This time around, like, I sat down, I wanted to take notes, and I felt like it was just going so fast at the beginning.
Right.
I was like, what the hell? Like, this is the same movie that I watched in theaters? Like, I don't know. Just everything was moving so fast, it felt like. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with the pace. It's really, like, I enjoy the movie, but I don't want to recommend it to anyone.
Yes.
I don't want to seek it out and watch it again. Like, you know, I will watch it again at some point.
Yes.
But it's going to be a while.
Yes, it will definitely be a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Right.
But not every movie I like is a 10, you know?
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, mine isn't a 10. It's just way higher than yours.
Yes, it's damn near a 10.
Yeah.
All right. What is your one favorite thing about the movie?
All right, my one favorite thing. Okay, so I feel like collectively we have a favorite thing that I've made my ringtone, and that is when he's like, why just spill your beans? Which, that is just hilarious to be like almost a tagline to your movie.
Yes.
And two, okay, so there's a very specific scene. So I think it's right after he like curses Winslow for not liking his lobster. Mm-hmm. And it's like right after he says everything, and his hand is like this, like shaking, dude. I'm obsessed with that because he's just like so filled with rage, and he just released everything. He's just like tormenting his body, like it's just shaking so hard, and that's all you see. And then you just see like Winslow being like, "Okay, well, have it your way. I like your lobster." It's so funny.
Yeah. So my one favorite thing about this movie, it's never really mentioned or referred to, but you see. Willem Dafoe, like it's late one night, mm-hmm. and he's like in his rocking chair or something, and he's knitting.
Oh yeah,
and like that is just so funny to me.
He learned to knit for this film.
for that 25 seconds of screen time knitting right there.
It's just like so fast.
It's just so funny.
It's so funny.
Aw. Yeah, that's it. I love Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well. We are nearing the end to this film, which means we are getting to the part where we recommend the next film we will be reviewing.
All right. So this movie is in black and white. We decided to stick with black and white films for our next movie. There's a lot of them to choose from. We try to get like more modern movies.
Yes.
And we narrowed it down to these 3 movies, none of which you have seen before.
No, I've seen like spots where I've tried to watch them, but I've never like actually finished them.
All right, none of which you have sat down and watched before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very exciting. They are very different movies from each other.
Very different. So A, we have A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Came out in 2014. It's directed by Anna Lily Amirpour.
I believe so.
And I believe this kind of is a tale about a girl and she encounters some vampires.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I believe she's Iranian, so it's like a Persian language film.
Yes. It looks sick.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've only seen it one time, like when it came out, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it has just a fantastic aesthetic. Okay.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
B option is going to be Clerks, which is very different. It came out in 1994, believe that, directed by Kevin Smith, my boy. Though I've never seen a film with him. I just know he directed a couple episodes of Degrassi. Anyways, that is about some clerks at a convenience store and the little shenanigans that they get into.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. Haven't seen this film. And C, we have Frances Ha, came out in 2012. It's directed by Noah Baumbach. And this is a coming of age kind of story as far as I know.
I've never seen it.
With Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
So those are your three options. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. B, Clerks. And C, Frances Ha.
Yes. Well done. So that's pretty much it for this episode.
Yes.
We want to thank you, as always, for watching our videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And the most important thing you can do for us is share us with your friends and
give us a nice little like.
Yeah, like the videos, because that is very important. You can also follow us on social media. So on social media, on Instagram, we are There'll Be Podcast, and we will do the weekly votes there. We are also present on Twitter. We are Pod from Basket. You can also pick your movie there. And then if you also want to just comment the movie in the video, we would also appreciate that. Yeah. And then we are also now on Spotify and Google Podcasts and any other podcast applications in which you listen to other podcasts in, except Apple. Yeah. So yes. So follow us there, follow us on YouTube, and yeah. It's not us, it's Apple.
Yes, it's not us.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Stay tuned for some parting words.
Yes, parting words. Get ready for those.
Yeah, get ready.
All right. Bye.
Can I trust you?
Don't be spilling beans with me, Mark. Do it again.
Let's get to
Not interesting.